In a world powered by screens, algorithms, and invisible networks, there are laws so bizarre, so outdated, and so strangely specific, they feel like glitches in reality. From countries where liking a post can get you fined, to places where owning a Wi-Fi signal without permission is a crime, the digital age isn't just evolving. It's being policed in ways most people never imagined. Today, we're diving into the 50 strangest internet, social media, and technology laws that still exist. And trust me, some of them are straight up unbelievable. In South Korea, anonymity online isn't a right, it's controlled. Under the real name internet law, users posting on major platforms must verify identity with legal ID. The intention was reducing harassment and misinformation, but critics say it created digital surveillance. Every comment, deleted or not, can be traced back to a verified person. The internet becomes less like a free space and more like a monitored arena where every opinion leaves a legal footprint. In Germany, cracking the wrong joke or posting the wrong meme can become a criminal act. Mocking national symbols, officials, or certain historical topics online can lead to fines or prison. Even social media satire, edits, or harmless-looking memes fall under strict enforcement. Authorities can request data from platforms to identify users. Supporters say it prevents extremism. Critics argue it suppresses humor and expression, making the digital space feel like a courtroom instead of conversation. In the United Arab Emirates, using a VPN to bypass blocked apps or websites can be a punishable offense. Even innocent actions like accessing restricted video calls or sites with a masked IP may lead to heavy fines. Officials claim the law ensures cybersecurity and prevents fraud, yet many residents feel watched. The tool meant to protect privacy becomes something suspicious, and the message online feels clear. Digital shadows are not tolerated. In Thailand, criticizing or mocking the monarchy online can result in years of imprisonment. Under lèse-majesté laws, even a sarcastic emoji, retweet, or reposted joke counts as a violation. Platforms must remove flagged content instantly, and both citizens and tourists have been arrested for seemingly minor online actions. The internet isn't casual expression. It's territory where loyalty is policed, and one careless reaction can reshape a person's future forever. In the United Arab Emirates, using a VPN to bypass blocked apps or websites can be a punishable offense. Even innocent actions like accessing restricted video calls or sites with a masked IP may lead to heavy fines. Officials claim the law ensures cybersecurity and prevents fraud, yet many residents feel watched. The tool meant to protect privacy becomes something suspicious, and the message online feels clear. Digital shadows are not tolerated. In Russia, posting information labeled as fake news or unapproved narratives online can result in severe penalties. Platforms may be forced to remove statements, block accounts, or archive user data for inspection. Authorities decide what counts as misleading, making truth something officially defined rather than discovered. Many argue the law transforms the internet into controlled territory where speaking freely risks legal consequences and silence becomes survival. In Singapore, if authorities decide something online is false or misleading, they can order platforms to edit, remove, or label the content, even if it was just an opinion. Failing to comply can result in fines or prison. The law claims to protect public harmony, but critics argue it moderates debate before it even begins. The digital environment becomes one of careful wording, where expression feels calculated rather than natural. In China, certain phrases, names, and topics are automatically blocked online through a mix of human moderation and advanced filters. Posts disappear instantly, and some never appear at all. Even private group chats aren't fully private, and screenshots may be used as evidence. Supporters say this keeps society stable, but many believe it creates a curated illusion of reality, where silence isn't a choice but the default condition. In Australia, proposed and enforced digital safety laws require proof of age through government verification for access to certain platforms or features. The goal is protecting minors from harmful content, grooming, or exploitation. However, critics argue it links personal identity to online behavior and builds massive databases vulnerable to abuse. The debate continues. When does protection transform into surveillance, and who gets to decide? In India, messaging platforms must reveal the first originator of viral or sensitive messages when ordered by authorities. Even encrypted private chats lose guaranteed privacy. The law aims to prevent hate speech and misinformation, yet many argue it destroys true encryption and opens doors to monitoring personal conversation. The digital line between safety and intrusion becomes blurred, raising the question, is privacy still a right or now a permission?
In Turkey, criticizing or
mocking the president online, even through a meme, joke, or sarcastic reply, can lead to prosecution under strict defamation laws. Thousands of cases have been filed over tweets and posts. Platforms can be forced to hand over user identity and metadata. Supporters call it national respect. Critics call it digital fear conditioning. Posting online isn't just expression. It becomes a legal calculation where one wrong sentence can shift life from ordinary to interrogated. In France, drone use is heavily restricted, and posting aerial footage online without proper registration, authorization, and compliance can result in fines or legal action. Even hobbyists uploading videos to YouTube must follow aviation rules. Authorities say the law protects privacy and national security. Critics say it strangulates creativity and exploration. In a world obsessed with recording everything, France quietly reminds people that the sky isn't free, it's regulated. In Italy, distributing or even forwarding deep-fake content without clearly labeling it can lead to legal consequences. This includes altered videos, AI-generated faces, or manipulated speech circulating on social platforms. The law aims to prevent deception and political manipulation, especially during elections. However, some argue it clashes with art, satire, and digital experimentation. The line between expression and manipulation becomes a battlefield where technology advances faster than law can interpret. In Malaysia, sharing offensive religious or cultural opinions online, even unintentionally, can result in legal action. Posts, comments, or shared videos that authorities consider harmful to harmony are criminalized under digital sedition regulation. Supporters claim it protects unity in a diverse nation, while critics argue it erases uncomfortable dialogue and truth. The internet becomes less a place for debate and more a space for cautious compliance, where silence feels safer than honesty. In Brazil, spreading misinformation during elections isn't just frowned upon, it's criminal. Platforms and users can face investigation, and posts promoting false claims may result in prosecution. The law protects democracy, yet many say its boundaries are unclear, making truth feel regulated rather than transparent. Online discussion becomes guarded, and users must question not only what they post, but whether someone else might later declare it unlawful. In South Africa, hate speech laws extend deeply into social media, criminalizing posts that insult, degrade, or target groups based on identity. Even shared posts that weren't originally created by the user may count. The law fights racism and harm, but critics warn its broad definition risks, limiting uncomfortable but necessary conversations. On the screen, the line between protection and censorship becomes thin enough to vanish. In Poland, defaming or insulting the nation or church online can lead to fines or prison sentences. Even satirical posts or exaggerated humor risk legal scrutiny. Supporters say it defends tradition and identity. Critics argue it freezes modern expression and challenges satire itself. The internet, instead of being a space of spontaneous thought, becomes a monitored stage where tone, wording, and implication determine whether speech is cultural commentary or criminal offense. In Finland, posting someone's private information online, like personal arguments, screenshots, or identifiable details, can result in criminal penalties under the spreading personal data law. Even exposing someone's behavior publicly, regardless of truth, may count. The law protects dignity and safety, yet some argue it shields accountability. The digital world becomes a paradox, public communication with rules that demand silence when anger wants audience. In the United Kingdom, online harassment laws allow authorities to arrest users for persistent messaging, threatening tone, emotional harm, or communication deemed distressing. Even messages sent once but interpreted as harmful may count. The intention is safety. The effect is caution. The internet starts feeling less like raw expression and more like monitored speech, where emotional interpretation shifts into legal territory. In Pakistan, criticizing military institutions or questioning national security online can result in investigations, removals, and legal penalties. Posts are monitored, and platforms may be fined for refusing compliance. Supporters say it protects stability. Critics argue it weaponizes patriotism to suppress uncomfortable truth. Online communication becomes a landscape where curiosity feels dangerous and silence becomes a survival instinct disguised as neutrality. In Canada, cyberbullying laws allow police to charge individuals for sharing intimate images or humiliating content without consent. Even if the content was once willingly shared, posting it elsewhere becomes a criminal act. Supporters say it protects victims from digital exploitation. Critics argue the definition can feel broad, leaving gray areas around jokes or conflicts. The internet here becomes a space where sharing isn't just casual, it's legally weighted, and consent becomes a boundary more powerful than access. In Norway, influencers must label retouched photos online, including edited faces, slimmer bodies, or modified features. The law targets unrealistic beauty standards and their impact on mental health. Even slight filters used for marketing must be disclosed. Supporters say it's transparency. Critics say it kills creativity and privacy. The digital world becomes a mirror where truth and modification must be declared, revealing how deeply digital perfection has shaped self-perception. Insulting religion, culture, or national figures online, even indirectly, can result in arrest, fines, or deportation. Platforms monitor speech and enforce compliance. Supporters say the law protects unity and respect. Critics argue it suppresses dissent and diversity of thought. Posting becomes less expression and more restraint, where silence feels safer than criticism. The internet becomes a place where respect isn't earned, it's enforced. In Sweden, secretly recording someone, even through screen capture or audio during a private online call, can lead to criminal charges. Consent defines legality, the law protects privacy and trust, but critics say modern communication blurs lines between public and private. The digital world becomes intimate territory, where pressing record without permission transforms curiosity into a crime. In Argentina, posting someone's medical information or health status online without explicit consent is considered a serious data violation. Even sharing screenshots or forwarded messages related to personal health can result in legal consequences. The law protects dignity and bioprivacy, especially in an era where medical topics spread fast. Yet, critics argue spontaneous digital speech can accidentally cross these boundaries. The internet becomes a space where transparency and confidentiality are constantly at war. In the Philippines, online libel laws allow imprisonment for defamation posted on social media, even if it's personal conflict or emotional outburst. A single Facebook status or comment can become evidence. Critics say the law is used to silence journalists and critics. Supporters claim it protects reputation. Online words become weighty, where anger typed in seconds may take years to undo. In New Zealand, distributing digital content that promotes extremist ideology or violent acts is illegal, and even viewing certain videos can result in prosecution. After tragic events, the law evolved to prevent glorification of violence. Supporters say it protects humanity. Critics warn it grants authorities power over what may simply be research or our curiosity. Online exploration becomes a monitored road with invisible checkpoints. In Indonesia, posting sexually explicit jokes, memes, or suggestive images online can be punished under strict morality-based cybercrime laws. Even private messaging screenshots have led to legal action. Supporters say it protects cultural values. Critics argue it polices humor, intimacy, and self-expression. Online life becomes a tightrope between modern culture and traditional law, where emojis, tone, and intention matter as much as meaning. In Kenya, intentionally spreading false information online that may cause panic or threaten public order is illegal. Even speculation during emergencies can lead to arrest. The law aims to prevent fear-driven chaos, yet critics argue it can suppress whistleblowing and public questioning. The digital world becomes a place where curiosity must first be verified, and theories risk punishment. In Mexico, impersonating another person online, even through parody or joke accounts, can lead to legal action. If intent appears harmful or deceptive, prosecution follows. Supporters say the law protects identity theft victims, but critics argue humor, activism, and anonymous resistance suffer. Online identity becomes territory where masks are regulated and imitation becomes a potential crime. In Qasim region of Saudi Arabia, filming strangers, especially women, and posting it online without consent can lead to imprisonment and substantial fines. Even accidental appearances in a video can trigger legal action. The law protects personal dignity and privacy, yet critics argue it clashes with modern content culture where recording is instinctive. The internet becomes a boundary where documenting reality must first ask permission, and every camera lens is treated less like memory and more like potential violation. In Switzerland, forwarding chain messages or sharing unverifiable health claims online during public emergencies may lead to legal consequences under misinformation control laws. Platforms track flagged content, and users can be investigated if harm or confusion results. Supporters say it protects public trust. Critics say it limits freedom of discussion. The internet becomes a fragile ecosystem where curiosity must be cautious, and forwarding a message becomes an act requiring responsibility rather than habit. In Estonia, companies and organizations must gain explicit consent before using cookies or digital tracking tools, and failure to comply can result in heavy fines. Even small websites must follow strict transparency requirements. Supporters view it as digital respect, protecting users from hidden surveillance. Critics argue it slows innovation and user experience. The online world becomes a negotiation where every click demands clarity and privacy becomes not assumed but actively safeguarded. In Israel, posting calls for boycotts against the nation or supporting such movements online can lead to civil lawsuits and financial penalties. The law claims to protect national economy and unity, yet critics argue it restricts political speech and activism. The internet shifts from open debate into regulated territory where ideology becomes legally monitored and questioning policy becomes a financial risk rather than a conversation. In Greece, posting false emergency information, such as fake natural disaster reports or fabricated terror alerts, can lead to prosecution. Even if the sender didn't intend harm, causing public fear becomes a crime. Supporters say it prevents chaos and protects safety. Critics argue emotional interpretation becomes evidence. The digital world becomes one where urgency must be verified before spoken, and panic typed too fast becomes law-breaking rather than concern. In Serbia, posting digitally altered images that intentionally harm someone's reputation can result in legal charges. Even memes exaggerated with malicious intent fall under the law. Supporters argue it protects dignity in the age of viral embarrassment. Critics claim satire and humor become endangered. The internet becomes a space where editing isn't just creativity. Its potential liability and comedy must walk cautiously between irony and accusation. In Zimbabwe, insulting or mocking the president online, including through emojis, images, or edited videos, can lead to arrest. Platforms have been compelled to provide user identities tied to controversial content. Supporters argue it prevents disrespect and misinformation. Critics say it enforces silence. Online expression becomes a landscape where humor can be hazardous, and political commentary becomes a calculated risk rather than a right. In Venezuela, posting or sharing content considered destabilizing against national security can lead to charges under cybercrime regulations. Even critical opinions may be interpreted as digital subversion. Supporters say the law protects order. Critics believe it restricts honest dialogue. The internet becomes a space where speaking truth publicly invites surveillance, and silence becomes the safest form of communication. In Portugal, unauthorized online gambling advertisements or links can lead to legal penalties, even for individuals casually sharing platforms through social posts. Authorities regulate betting to control addiction and financial exploitation. Supporters say it safeguards vulnerable communities. Critics argue it limits harmless recreation and personal choice. The digital environment becomes a monitored casino where invitation itself becomes regulated currency. In Hungary, spreading information considered harmful to public order, even if later proven accurate, can result in criminal charges. The law aims to prevent chaos, yet critics warn it grants authorities power to decide truth rather than investigate it. The internet becomes a stage where speech must align with approved narratives, and curiosity becomes something quietly restrained. In Nigeria, cyberstalking laws allow arrests for persistent online confrontation, aggressive messaging, or digital harassment, even if no physical threat exists. A tweet, repeated tag, or message campaign can qualify. Supporters say it protects mental safety and dignity. Critics argue it can silence dissent or activism. The internet becomes territory where emotional tone has legal weight, and anger typed impulsively might become evidence rather than expression. In Chile, data protection laws make it illegal to store or share someone's personal information online without consent, even if casually screenshot from social platforms. Names, phone numbers, and identifying details are protected. Supporters call it digital respect. Critics say it complicates reporting, research, and accountability. The internet becomes a guarded vault where information, though accessible, can't be repeated without permission. In UAE's Abu Dhabi region, posting photos of car crashes, police operations, or accidents online can lead to arrest. Authorities argue such posts violate privacy and create public panic. Even sharing forwarded content may trigger investigation. Critics say it prevents transparency and public awareness. The digital world becomes a filtered reality where tragedy and chaos cannot exist publicly without legal risk. In Denmark, revenge privacy laws criminalize forwarding explicit images or sexual content without consent, even if the sender once trusted the receiver. Teens and adults alike can face charges. Supporters say it protects vulnerability and dignity. Critics argue the lines blur in emotional conflict. The internet becomes a space where betrayal becomes not only personal, but legally punished. In Egypt, posting content that authorities interpret as promoting immorality, inappropriate behavior, or influencing public morals, especially on TikTok or Instagram, can lead to imprisonment or fines. Influencers have been charged for dance videos, lifestyle posts, and clothing choices. Supporters claim it preserves cultural values. Critics call it digital policing of self-expression. The internet becomes a silent negotiation between identity and acceptable visibility. In Romania, sharing or posting online fabricated financial information to manipulate markets or mislead investors is criminalized. Even exaggerated claims about cryptocurrencies or stocks can become legal cases. Supporters say it defends economic stability. Critics argue it restricts speculation and commentary. The internet becomes a financial battlefield where enthusiasm must be cautious and influence becomes monitored. In Czech Republic, spreading hoaxes during elections, such as false candidate accusations or fabricated voting changes, can result in legal penalties. Even sharing suspected misinformation may count. Supporters say it protects democratic integrity. Critics argue it risks suppressing debate and alternative viewpoints. Online conversation becomes fragile during political seasons, where curiosity collides with caution. In Austria, posting hateful content targeting individuals based on race, religion, disability, or identity can lead to criminal charges, even if disguised as dark humor or sarcasm. Supporters call it essential to human dignity. Critics argue it risks overregulating speech. Online spaces become moral landscapes where tone becomes as meaningful as content. In Iceland, workplace monitoring laws strictly limit employers from tracking staff online, reviewing messages, or installing surveillance software without clear consent. Even monitoring productivity tools must be disclosed. Supporters say it protects autonomy. Critics argue it reduces workplace transparency. The internet becomes a protected boundary where professional oversight cannot cross into private digital life. In Bhutan, spreading online negativity, Public shaming or digital conflict can be prosecuted under national harmony laws. Even comments perceived as unnecessarily harsh may be flagged. The goal is social unity, yet critics argue it suppresses necessary criticism. The internet becomes a carefully softened world where harmony is enforced and silence often becomes safer than authenticity.